Welcome to Pod Band Pipecast, the premier pipe band podcast.
Yay! That was good.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll get on with the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod Band Pipecast. Today, as our guest, we have the esteemed Michael McClanathan.
Esteemed?
Esteemed. Just go with it. Just go with it.
Okay, fine, whatever.
So he's esteemed locally. I don't know. I mean, pretty much everyone in Arizona knows Michael, who is. I was saying I looked you up online to just kind of do a little bit of like stalking, try to find your website and stuff so we could reference that. Not to be weird or anything, but your website is thebagpiper.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's really cool. Like he's the bagpiper.
The bagpiper.
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah.
We got him on the show. So yeah, thank you again. This is going to be really great.
That's an
for
honor.
those that don't know, Michael is just sort of a person who's kind of been around the Arizona pipe band scene for a really long time and has done a lot of.
You can tell a long time. See all this?
He's done a lot of really cool and interesting things, and one of them being that he owns and operates, or I believe your son operates, the sort of a pipe band, the major pipe band supply store in Arizona, which is going to be an interesting story too, to ask how and why you got that started in Arizona, where bagpipes are not a big deal.
Right.
So without further ado, we'll just get to our questions. And I think through these questions, everyone will get to know you better and see what's up.
All right, let's do it.
So how did you get into piping?
Well, my family came over from Scotland to Canada and down to Michigan eventually. And when I was about 8 or 9 years old, we used to go up into Ontario, to Kincardine, Ontario, where they had settled, and visit family up there. And they had a pipe band in their little town, and it was kind of a touristy town near Lake Huron. And so on Saturday nights during the summer, the pipe band would all get together and march down the street, and they'd go down to the park and make a circle and play for seemed like an hour. I guess that was their practice time or something. And I used to follow them down the street and listen to them, and the sound just really touched me. And I'll never forget just standing there in the park as it started to get dark, because they'd start around 9 o'clock, which in the summer, it was still a little light up there. But then after a while, then it would get dark. And I can remember the trees going up and the dark sky and the circle of pipes and the sound. And it was just so awesome. It was just amazing. And it just really made me want to do that.
So you were a piper by choice and not by some of the people we've interviewed say, oh yeah, my family did it. And I had no choice.
I just kind of went along. Yeah. It's kind of like I'm teaching some of my grandsons now, and it's kind of like that, but they do like it. So, but it was my idea to teach them. So I taught my son to play, and then to my grandsons right now. So.
Well, Kincardine is beautiful. I remember we actually went to, my family and I went to the Highland Games there, which is still a huge deal. It's much more like Scotland than it is here.
Yes, a lot. Yeah.
So you started learning then in Ontario, and how?
We got my dad got an instructor for me when we came back home, and so we lived in Michigan, down south of Detroit, almost to Toledo, and they had an instructor come down from Detroit and teach at the International Institute in Toledo. So we got a group together that wanted to learn the pipes. And in fact, a lot of you guys know John Recknagel. He was in the same group with me when we
Oh, wow.
first started out. Yeah, yeah.
So you guys all kind of, did you start a band or were you just a few kids at that point?
We did, yeah. We, when you're that young, it takes a little while to get going, but we did get a band together, and then I, and well, then there was a little breakup. One of the kids in the band was in an accident and killed, and so then
Oh, geez.
the whole band just lost direction and everything, and it kind of fell apart. But I started my own band in Michigan, and was the pipe major of that for quite a few years. But it was, we just did parades and things like that. Then I went on to play with the Chrysler Highlanders out of Highland Park, Michigan, and Chrysler Corporation sponsored the band, and it was a grade 2 band, so it was a bit of a step up, but it was amazing and a lot of fun, and we won a lot of trophies and things like that before it broke up again because Chrysler quit funding things. So
I did not realize that the Chrysler Corporation had a pipe
Yeah.
band.
yeah,
That's
they did.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. Well, then, so how did you end up in Arizona?
Well, my sister moved out here. Actually, after World War II, my sister had, she's 9 years older than me, and she got a peanut in her lung, and she had surgery, and she kept getting pneumonia, and the doctor told them to move to Arizona if you wanted her to live, because, that was what you did back then.
Mhm.
And so she grew up out here in Arizona. And then my grandparents died back in Michigan, and then so my family moved back to Michigan and lived in that house, and so that was where I was born and grew up. So, but came out here because my sister moved back out here, and I was looking for warmer weather, basically, from Michigan, and pretty much everything is warmer weather from Michigan. And so I moved to Florida first and didn't like the humidity and bugs and all
Mhm.
that. And came out here because my sister was here and I loved it, and been here for 40 years now. So,
It's certainly much drier here.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. That's the same thing that my grandparents, so our pipe major Chris, his parents came out here because of the same thing. The doctor said, my grandma had really bad arthritis, and if you want her to have a comfortable life, you go somewhere that's drier, just like Arizona. And so, okay, we'll go to Arizona.
And now that I'm old and have arthritis, I know what that means. 'Cause you
You're
go
like,
somewhere with
okay,
humidity, and yeah, it hurts. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
you're already in Arizona.
Yeah. But if you go, and so it's nice, but then you go somewhere where it's wet and it hurts. So,
So, did you immediately find a band out here, or did you just kind of settle in for a while? How did you get playing out here?
well, I wasn't here that long, and I went out to mm, was Squaw Peak Park, I think, at that time, and had a picnic with the kids, and I heard bagpipes playing. So no, I played the bagpipes there. Okay, I'm old, so I forget. So I
I mean,
was
you heard them playing.
Yeah, I was playing the bagpipes there at the picnic. And then Andy Walker was a little kid, and he came running over and he said, "My dad's over here too, and we need to meet them and all that. And we're in this band." And so that's kind of how I got involved with Mesa Caledonia. So,
That's funny. Little kid at a park, you never know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I always tell people, because I teach quite a bit too, I teach drumming, of course, but you never know who's listening when you're playing. You
Yeah.
think you don't, oh, it's no big deal if I'm not in tune or if I mess this up or whatever. You never know who's listening.
hmm
So you played with Mesa Caledonian for a while, and then
Mhm.
I guess fast forward to present day maybe, and you're I guess we have some questions about what you do now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you do now in the piping world?
Well, not as much as I used to, but I was playing at the Westin Kierland Resort in Scottsdale. I played there for Sunset every night for 16 years until COVID came along, and then I was furloughed for a year. It's back now, but only on the weekends, Friday and Saturday nights.
Mm.
But now that I'm older, I can't handle the heat as much. And so my son plays out there in my place, or he gets somebody else to fill in when I'm not here. I'll be back there in the fall. But yeah, that's and I really enjoy the solo piping. You know, it's something that you can really express yourself doing.
Yeah, so that's another sort of thing that we were going to talk about is now
Mhm.
you're not playing in a band, and in the most recent few years or so, you've really been focused more on your solo piping, right?
Yeah.
What do you like most about being a solo piper versus being in a band?
Well, being in a band was lots of fun. There was the camaraderie with everyone, and the downside is all the tuning and all that with everyone. You know how that goes. But when the band is all playing together and everything just really works, it's magic. It's amazing, and it's just a great feeling. But the thing with solo piping is I can just, like at the Westin, just walk out there on the hill and start playing and play whatever I want, whenever I want, and express it however I want. You can't express things like that when you're in a band. It has to be all exact and the same as everyone else. But when you're playing something solo, you can feel the music. You can just, like if you're playing, let's say, the Dark Island, and you just want to just express it just kind of more hypnotically, and give it a haunting sound. You can do that. You can stretch out bits, shorten bits, things like that, and really make it feel the way you want the music to feel.
Skip question 4. Sorry.
What is it like being a piper for hire in Arizona where not everyone is familiar with bagpipes?
Well, it's not as well. Yeah, you're true. Back east, there's a lot of pipers, a lot of people know and all that. Out here, not so much. Like I said, I've been here for 40 years, and when I first got here, there was really very little going on. There's several bands here now. There's lots of pipers around. I've taught some how to play, and others I've helped along a little bit. But there's just so many more now, and but people really have a passion for the pipes. I mean, they want to hear them, and I, sometimes people say, well, people either love bagpipes or they hate them.
Mhm.
I don't know that I've really run into someone that hates them. Most people will say, oh, I just really love that. It just speaks to my soul. So.
And you still get obviously a lot of people requesting you for, gigs and such, right? I mean, I think that's one thing that some people are surprised about when they hear you're a bagpiper in Arizona. It's who hires you? Are there anyone that knows what bagpipes are? Yeah, they do.
People are dying to hear me play, literally.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as sad as that. Yeah. So speaking of gigs that you've had, your website, like I said, I was kind of stalking you, of course. Your website said that you played for some pretty notable people like the Lord Mayor of London and President George Bush. How did those gigs come about? How did a guy from Arizona get to play for these people?
Well, actually, those two were with the band, and I don't remember if it was Mesa or if it was the Spirit of Scotland, but a band that I was playing with, and it was, at one was at a fundraiser, and the other was at Lake Havasu for the bridge dedication thing, or an anniversary of the bridge type of
All
thing.
right, the London Bridge.
Right. And but I've done so many more things than that. I mean, I've been in 2 movies. One of them was with Burt Reynolds and Raquel Welch, and I don't know if you've ever heard those names before because you're pretty young, but
I'm a movie buff, so yeah.
okay, right. But the crazy thing about that was the way it happened. Was my son and I were playing down at the airport for the new international wing that had just been put on the walkway. And we were walking back to the car, and then suddenly we were walking through a movie set. And the director came up and said, "Hey, do you want to play for Burt Reynolds?" I said, "Oh, I got time for that. I was just going to the car, And he said, "Well, come back to the green room." So we went back and played for him, and then the guy says, "You want to be in the movie?" I said, "I got time for that." So they made up a part for us right there on the spot. Everything stopped. All the actors, Burt Reynolds and Raquel Welch, all the people were just sitting there waiting while they filmed us for like an hour and a half, walking through the crowd there. And an hour and a half of filming and delaying the whole thing. It's kind of crazy, but it came down to about, I don't know, 30 seconds on the film. So, but well, there we were, and so, but it was fun.
Yeah.
What are some of your most memorable piping moments? I mean, other than being in movies.
Does anything top that?
Right?
Oh, yeah, yes. Well, I have to say the most touching thing ever was when I was at the Westin playing one night, and I was playing there, and I would every night for a week I would see this couple come out up on the top level of the hotel and sit out there and listen for the whole hour I was playing.
Hmm.
And as soon as I was done, they'd just get up and go back inside. That was it. That was their routine every day for the week. On the last day, they came down and they bought my CD, and then they went home. Well, they came back a year later, and they told me that when they had been there the year before, they had just lost their son.
Oh.
Yeah. And they said they took my CD home, and the first one on it was Amazing Grace. And they said they started every day for a year listening to Amazing Grace, and it helped them heal. And I was so
Oh,
touched by
geez.
that. I thought, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
Here I was just thinking that I was entertaining people, but you don't know how you're touching lives when you're doing something like that. It just, you can't guess.
Yeah, some people, when we ask them that question, when they're guests on our show, they say something about a contest they've done or a cool place they've been, and that kind of just was something that you did just in your daily routine, or where you play all the time, and that's
Well, there was all that too. I mean, I've done
well, yeah.
those kind of things. I mean, I remember when I was 16 and playing with the Chrysler Band and at a contest, and we won the Governor's Cup and the MSR and the Slow March 6A. I mean, we won everything, and the sound the band had at that time was just amazing. It just made hair on the back of your neck stand up, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, those things, but that one really touched my heart.
Yeah, that's yeah, something.
Something you never know who's listening.
You never know who's listening.
I know. Oh, there you go.
That's the theme. That's the theme of the episode. Yeah, I know that. And And it's funny because I say you're an esteemed piper, and you kind of laughed at that, but there's pipers that busk all the time in Scotland and Glasgow or Edinburgh, wherever you are, and then you're the guy that plays at the Kierland, which is a big deal. I don't know, people don't know where that is if they're not from here, but that's a big deal, and you've taught a lot of people, and I know you've been on the radio several times, right?
The radio, TV. I've
TV.
been on 2 reality shows. One was for the Tilted Kilt. How was that? The Boss thing. What was that called?
Undercover Boss?
Yes, it was Undercover Boss. I was on that. And then
Well, we're gonna have to find that episode now. We'll have to watch it.
Yeah. Well, don't blink because it's only 2 seconds. Okay. And then the other one was the wedding for Drew Scott. I was on his show for the weddings. So
Was that the Property Brothers guy?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear people, because when there's a bagpiper on some kind of TV show or an important event or something, people are always like, oh, who was that? And so I heard that was you, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I need to ask him about that. How did they find you? Was that in Arizona?
Yeah, well, the wedding was in Italy, and they were going to do it in Scotland, but they said they couldn't count on the weather being good, so they wanted to do it outside. But so they said, well, the food's great in Italy, the weather's great, let's do it there. So they found a place that was a lot like a castle and a beautiful spot. But they found me through the shop. I mean, he was looking around for certain jackets to wear with the kilts and stuff like that. And we had the gray jackets, which not everybody had. And he liked those. So he got a hold of us and we organized, we made kilts for him and Jonathan, and then shipped them over, and we shipped over outfits for 10 groomsmen. And so then the wedding coordinator got a hold of me to play. So she said I couldn't find a piper in Italy. So,
so you're the whole package, the kilts, the wedding party attire, everything, and piper too.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And since then I've gone over to Italy, and I know there are pipe bands in Italy, and I've played with some of them over there, and it but she wasn't looking in the right place, I guess. So
yeah, she just Googled the bagpiper and you came up. So
yes.
That's funny. Well, so for our listeners who are not familiar with your story of the store and the rental business, next episode we're going to have you talk about that and about what that is, how you got that started, and how you've supplied kilts and rentals and all kinds of stuff to so many people throughout the world, like you're saying, even to Italy, from Arizona. So stay tuned, everyone, for the next episode where we talk to Michael about all of that. So thank you for joining us.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this show, then support us on Patreon for exclusive content, as well as the video of us recording this. We'll have special exercises we'll be writing, as well as tips and tricks with tenor drumming and other instruments to come. Subscribe to us on YouTube for some tenor tutorials and possibly other tutorials later on. And like us on Facebook at Pod Band Pipecast.